Right.
favourite bit.
So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. My name is Sophie and I am a freelance consultant and theatre producer. And I've been working with Forest Forge since November to help them develop the plan and all of the wonderful things you're going to hear about today. Prior to being a freelance consultant, I was director and chief executive of The Spring, which is an art centre and museum in Havant near Portsmouth. And before that, I was actually general manager at Forest Forge. So I've got a really long history with the company and feel huge amounts of affection. So I've been really grateful to be brought back in to work on this with Lucy and Joe and the board. So we're going to talk to you all about the plans for the future. And as part of that, we have a new structure in place, and Forest Forge is now led by two wonderful artistic directors, Joe and Lucy, who are going to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm the co-artistic director of Forest Forge. I've been working for the company for 25 years, which some might say is too long, but it also gives me a massive insight into the company and where it's been going for half of its life. I started in participation, so I started as a volunteer on some projects and then have rose to this dizzy height, which is still very humbling and extraordinary all at the same time. In the last 10 years, I've done a lot more working on professional touring, as well as the massive amount of participation and then the artist development, which we will talk about later.
I'm Joe, and I actually have been with the company about 10 years, which not many people know. I started as a freelancer about 10 years ago, did a couple of years as a freelancer, and then when I moved to Ringwood full time, I started working with the company as education and participation officer. And alongside that, I've been working for about 21 years as a facilitator, theatre maker, director, all within community, all within education. And yeah, it's a real honour to now be co-artistic director. So, you know, I'm excited to steer the good ship Forest Forge.
We're also joined by a couple of our board members who I'm going to ask to give you a big wave. So we've got Jill, Miranda, our chair, Christine, who's our council representative. So we have a big wave from board members. Lovely, thank you very much. So in the last few years, like many arts organisations, Forest Forge has been through a very challenging time, and lots of difficult decisions have had to be made, including selling the company's previous building in Ringwood. In January, Forest Forge moved to a smaller site, still in Ringwood, and actually we love the new building. And since then, we've been working on our plans to make sure that the company is still going in another 40 years. The company is 43 years old, and we want it to continue into the future. Everything you hear this morning about the plans that we've put together are based on our knowledge of the company, our audiences, and the local community and the local need. But it's also based on Lucy and Joe's expertise and their own experience and interest. And for the first time in a long time, we've placed that at the heart of the plan moving forward. It's really important that we're having this session today, and it's so lovely to see you here. It makes us feel really loved and as though the company has a lot of support moving forward, which is really appreciated. But we wanted to have this moment because we feel very strongly that Forest Forge doesn't exist for any of us as individuals. It exists for the community. It belongs to you. You make up our community. And so we really want to be open and transparent about what we're doing, why we're doing it. Yeah, so I'm going to pass over. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a lovely PowerPoint for you. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to pass over to Lucy and Joe, who are going to talk you through what happens next for Forest Forge.
Thanks, Sophie. Oh,
can everyone see the screen? Can I have a thumbs up if
it's still got the
it's
still got the background on it as well.
There we go.
There it is. Lovely. Thanks, Sophie. So the first thing that we should always start with is our vision and our mission. So a vision is our long-term ambition for the company, and then the mission is how we're going to do that. So I'm just going to read it. My expectation is that quite a few of you can read already, but I will read it out loud because it's important to hear. So our new company vision is that Forest Forge is a fundamental part of the fabric of cultural life in the New Forest and beyond. Our artistic practice is celebrated for the way in which we share stories with our communities via touring productions, supporting artists, and delivering meaningful participatory experiences.
And our mission, because Lucy and I are going to do this awkward handover thing all the way through, get used to it. Our mission is that Forest Forge uses theatre and theatre making to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. Based in the New Forest, our work across touring productions, participation and artist development helps make and build connections between people, sparks joy and encourages personal shifts in perspective and experience. And so with all this in mind, we've been exploring our artistic practice and we've created a model to communicate this. And as you see on the screen, we've got a handy graphic. And this model is based on the fire triangle. I went on a blacksmithing weekend and spent the weekend hammering metal and learning all about the forge, and woke up on the Monday morning and went, that's what Forest Forge is. And went running in and drew a handy little diagram and put it in the face of everybody who would listen. And that's formed the basis of us developing and unpicking what our artistic practice is, finding out what are the three things that make our fire burn, what's our oxygen, what's our heat, and what's our fuel. And Sophie has expertly guided us through finding the words and finding the things that underpin our artistic practice and our ethos. Again, I know you can all see this on screen, but I think it's really important to hear it as well. The oxygen are the values that underpin our practice. So the work we make is heartfelt, generous, made with trust and irreverence. The heat is the thing that makes our practice special. We make work that's unexpected and playful with a gentle anarchy to it, gentle anarchy being one of our favourite phrases. And the fuel are the things that inspires and sustains our work. The stories, local stories, world stories, folk stories, togetherness, and really key, the New Forest. And we've really explored what being in the New Forest means to the company. As you can probably hear, I'm from the Midlands. I'm not a native New Forester. And when I moved and started working with Forest Forge, it struck me how connected to nature the young people and the participants were naturally. And I think I could only really see that starkly because I'd come from working in the Midlands in inner city schools in Birmingham, areas of high deprivation. And I was working on projects with young people who didn't know how a fish moved. They'd never seen a fish, didn't know what sound a cow made. I had to take them to a farm so they could experience a real life cow, and then to move to the New Forest and see how these young people were so naturally connected to nature and understood nature and could move like birds and float like a leaf. It was really obvious how intrinsic the New Forest was to the work that Forest Forge were making. And with all of these three things, it helps us build the fire. And the fire of what we do is finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, creating shifts, working and sharing joy, and making connections. So these are the values that underpin our ethos and our artistic practice. And it's nothing new. These are not new things. It's not radical. It's not revolutionary. This is just what Lucy and I do. But to have the opportunity to put it at the forefront of our future and really give us that clarity and direction in taking the company forward, it is an amazing opportunity. So thank you, Sophie, for guiding us through that.
Thanks, Jo. Well, because we quite like a triangle, we now have a circular triangle for you to look at. So we this was quite an easy part of the process, because this was just us identifying the 3 strands that we work in, and it's really clear to us they're touring theatre, participation and artist development. These are not new to us. These have been part of our history for a very long time. Some of them are more visible than others, and it sort of also depends on your relationship with the company, which bit of that is your experience. But for us internally, they're all really vital. The reason that they're shown as a Venn diagram is because they all influence each other and are essential to the creative journey that you can have at Forest Forge. Our participation feeds into our artist development, which then can feed into our touring theatre, which builds our audiences and then feeds back into our participation. And we've got examples of how they cross over later on in the presentation. These 3 things have been built on experience and history. They've always been there, but they've not always been visible or a core aim of the company. Artist development particularly, which Jo will be talking about later, has not always been the most visible part, but it's absolutely been, as long as I've been here, it's been, and before me, it wasn't me, but as long as I've known it, that artist development has been part of the company, and I'm a product of that myself. And it's really important to us moving forward that these 3 all have equal importance. Equality and parity is important to us as a team, and this is absolutely here as well. We want to shout about what we want to do, what we do. We want to recognise that we want to do them. We want to celebrate that we do these things. In each of these strands, we will maintain what we've already got, and we will grow existing programmes and develop new projects. So those are our 3 strands, and we're now going to go through those 3 strands so that you're all really clear about what's happening next. So we're going to go to touring theatre. So touring theatre was how the company was set up in 1981. So it's always been an intrinsic part. As you can see from this photograph, we are ditching the van, and we are only now going to travel with a biplane made out of a ladder and some fabric. We think that's more ecologically friendly, so that's how we're going to be working from now on, obviously. The point of touring theatre for the company is about telling stories, because that's at the heart of theatre, is telling a good story. And we want to continue our tradition of touring high quality, fleet of foot, joyful stuff. All our touring theatre celebrates the tradition of oral storytelling. It's all rooted in our artistic practice, which you've heard about, and it's all developed to be flexible and responsive to non-theatre venues. So if there are any venue bookers in the room, you'll know that we come to your village hall and we adapt to your space. That's really important. It's always been part of what the company does. We will come in and we'll make it work regardless, because every venue, every village hall, every studio space is different, and we're able to roll with that. And we also, it's really important to us that we are responsive to our local and regional audiences. So a couple of years ago on the Christmas show, we did a survey to our audiences to find out what kind of things they're interested in, what they would be interested in seeing out on the road. And we're going to be using that work to inform us, and more ongoing kind of current work to inform us with what we're doing. The touring theatre itself as a strand then splits down into smaller strands. So we're going to talk about those now. So the first one is the Christmas show. This has been an intrinsic part of the Forest Forge calendar every year since, I think the only year we've ever missed was 2020-21, which for obvious reasons we couldn't tour a Christmas show, but we have always taken a Christmas show out. We have produced it that have toured across the New Forest and the wider region to mainly non-theatre spaces, to our village hall venues. Since 2015 we've been working with local theatre company Bumblefly Theatre, and since 2021 we've had a 3-way co-production with Mischievous Theatre. It's been such an important part, actually. Again, 3 companies, we like the rule of 3 here. It's been another really important part of us identifying the way we work. We work with those 2 companies with equality. We all respect what we bring into the room, the different experiences, the different skills, and it's a really wonderful and honest way of working that we really enjoy. We will continue to create and tour Christmas shows, that they will always be suitable for the whole family. We often like to say that our shows are suitable for 5 to 105. We try and make sure that everybody is included. We design them to tour to village halls and non-theatre spaces as well as studio theatres, but they are there to go into our communities and directly impact people out in rural areas. And we continue to do that with hopefully the joy and irreverence that we like to bring to a Christmas show. This year, our Christmas show, saying that, this year our Christmas show is A Christmas Carol, which is not necessarily known for its joy and irreverence, unless you're a big fan of the Muppets, which of course is just the most excellent version of A Christmas Carol. But we will be working really hard to bring our silliness and surprises and magic and ridiculousness to what is a wonderful classic Christmas story. We are open for booking at the moment, so if you're interested in having us in your venue, please get in touch. So this will be, you know, and this will be the Christmas show is not going anywhere because it's one of our favourite times of the year. But now we're going to talk about the new strands of work that that are new to us, which is exciting. So the first one is called Suitcase Stories. This is something, I know we have Sean Aita in the room, this is something we have talked about so many years. Like, can we create a small piece of fleet of foot theatre that can just pop in a car and get out there? And we've said, right, we're doing it. That's it. We're going to do it now. So the idea of Suitcase Stories is that it is a one person and a suitcase and hopefully a musical instrument, and everything will come out of that suitcase. If you've seen our Christmas shows in the last few years, suitcases and them opening and the magic of what comes out and what happens inside has been a really important part of our Christmas shows. And we're taking that out on the road, mainly visiting into primary schools, secondary schools, if they'd like them. We can go to village fetes. It's going to be a very flexible way of working and taking a sort of smaller version of the Christmas show, because that's what it's going to be based on. We also thought it was important to work smarter, not harder. So rather than reinventing entirely new stories, we will be taking our Christmas shows and turning them into small pieces of theatre that we can take out on the road. So the first one we're hoping to get off the ground in the next couple of months, called It's Jack and the Beanstalk, which this photograph was taken from. I know that might not look like Jack and the Beanstalk. It was a whole section where Daisy the cow had a new life in a circus. It was wonderful. We'll be getting that one out on the road hopefully this year, hopefully in collaboration with NFDC, who are really keen to see this up and going. We want to take it into schools, into primary schools, and reach those wider audiences that might not always be able to get to the theatre. We will then take our Christmas show from next year, which will be A Christmas Carol, and turn that into a smaller version. So we'll hopefully in a few years' time have quite a range of shows that we'll be able to have off the shelf and be able to pop into spaces when people ask for them. It's really exciting because it means we're finally doing what we want to do, and having a fleet of foot piece of theatre to take out on demand will be brilliant. So that's Suitcase Stories. Our next strand of work is called Unexpected Places. It was difficult to find a photograph for Unexpected Places, so we settled on this mirror ball hanging in a tree, which was from a show that we did called Joy a couple of years ago in Queen's House in Lyndhurst. This is a strand of work, and we've got our first piece that we're sort of developing at the moment. Is we want it to be going to play unexpected places. Where are you going to see theatre that's somewhere slightly different? So our first piece is looking at going into pubs in autumn and winter, but sort of missing out Christmas because pubs are obviously really busy at that time, but kind of trying to hit that bit when it gets a bit sort of darker and a bit more mysterious, and tapping into sort of folk tales and ghost stories, and having a two-person show that will go out into your pub. So you can buy a ticket, sit in your pub. It will be the pub that you recognise. We won't be changing it particularly. The two people at the bar will start telling the story. We're hoping to add in, our plans are to add, have things hidden around in the space in the pub that we can use, hopefully use the bar person. They don't know this yet, but they hopefully will be involved, so that the story happens in there and kind of drawing in those audiences in a slightly different way. That and the ghost kind of story thing as winter starts to come in all around that area, it'll be a really lovely way of starting. But we also would like to create another version of that would be suitable for the summer, because obviously being in the New Forest, we have a huge sort of tourism. I don't know how to finish that sentence. We are a tourist area that we have a lot of people come into the area in the summer, and to be able to sort of tap into that and offer a cultural experience in the New Forest for some of those people would be fantastic. So what we'd like to do is create a piece that is much more about the New Forest story. So looking at King Rufus and smuggling tales and Alice Lisle, taking all of those local stories and turning them into the similar kind of piece of theatre that we could go back into pubs, absolutely, but also we can contact our the local campsites and see if we can offer it into those, because that is again another sort of cultural experience, possibly with a suitcase story attached to it. So being able to broaden our audiences across the summer. Again, it will be fleet of foot, it will be flexible, all the usual things that Forest Forge would expect, bit of magic, bit of silliness, but being able to pop those into different spaces. So that's our first round of unexpected places, but who knows what's going to come after that. And then we have our next piece of work, which is called Beacon. Now, you won't see this for the first year or two because we decided this is our kind of name for our kind of flagship work that's not our Christmas show or Unexpected Places or Suitcase Stories. This is about building in a bigger tour that maybe crosses the country into rural touring schemes and into studio theatres. We are buying ourselves time to think about what we want to do with this. It would be really easy to just come up with an idea very quickly and kind of panic get something out, and that's not what we want to do. We want to really engage with our audiences, see what works with Suitcase Stories and Unexpected Places, and giving Joe and I some time to really think about what this first piece of theatre is going to be. So that's really exciting, but that's all I can tell you at the moment, but that will be coming. We're just going to give ourselves some time. So that's touring theatre with all its various different strands. I'm going to hand over to Joe now to talk about artist development.
Hello. So artist development. We probably should have said this at the beginning, but the way that Lucy and my role is going to work is that we're co-artistic directors, because we are essentially sharing the job of one giant person that can't possibly do everything. So we considered the three strands of the company. Lucy's going to take a lead on touring theatre. I'm going to take a lead on artist development, and we're going to share participation, which very loosely means Lucy will look after the participation that's in-house. I'm going to look after the participation that's out of house. Having said that, we sit next to each other all day, every day. So there are many crossovers, and we will be sharing responsibilities. And I guess one of the joyous things is that we can go where artistically we feel drawn to go. So if something in artist development is more suited to Lucy's skill set, Lucy will come in, and vice versa. So artist development. Artist development is a really big part of what we do, and we haven't massively shouted about it. We haven't massively promoted or celebrated it for a really long time. We've had an associates program that's sort of rumbled along for a long time, but there's never really been much clarity around, never's probably the wrong term. For a long time, there's not been much clarity around what the offer is, what the responsibility of each kind of partner is. And so what we wanted to do is really hone down what it is we're offering and how we can take it forward. It's a really important part, we think, of the cultural offer in the New Forest, because as many of us in this room will know, young people, brilliant, creative young people, leave. They go away, they go to university. They might not come back until, it's a wonderful place to have a family. So they come back to start a family. But what we want to do is make the offer so robust and so valuable that young people see the value in staying in the New Forest and creating work. We've been working really closely with AUB recently. We are their industry patrons for this year. And working with AUB, we're starting to kind of have those conversations about what it is that young people need, which we sort of know, don't we, Lucy? Because we have had thousands of hours of conversations with our youth theatre members who go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So we are in consultation, we're working with AUB, we're really looking at what the next step for young creators might be, so that we can up that retention, so that we can keep people local. Next slide, please, Sophie. Another handy graphic for your eyes. We've created this model just to kind of really loosely explain the entry points into our artist development program. What we didn't want to do was set something up that was really concrete, like you apply and you join and you get £500 and 2 weeks rehearsal space and 2 hours with one of the co-artistic directors. We We wanted our artist development program to be a lot more fluid, a lot more organic, that really, really listened to and understood the needs of individual practitioners. And we also accept that this might change and evolve, and people might go off and work on something else for a few years and then come back and bring a new project. And what we didn't want to put any barriers in place to those creative conversations. So this is our journey. You can join the Young Company. Obviously, if you are aged 18 to 25-ish, 25 is a kind of rudimentary number. And the Young Company sits almost at the end of the youth theatre journey for those young people who have either graduated or on gap years, not really sure what to do. They sit in that grey zone of youth and adulthood. And it's an opportunity for them to come form a company that's supported professionally, create work, learn about producing, theatre making, devising, marketing, fundraising, learn all the skills that they need to become theatre makers. And we're keeping it really low cost, and there are 2 points of access in that people can either join the Young Company as fee paying, or they can give us time back, so they can volunteer their time to support the Forest Forge model, whether that's archiving, administration support, assisting on youth theatre. So because we want this to be a really accessible programme, again, with no barriers in place. Alex has to leave now. Thank you for coming, Alex. With no barriers in place,
Thank
so
you.
young people, thank you, Alex. Young people can come and be part of it. From the Young Company, we've set up a thing called the Furnace, which of course has got a lovely Forge link to name. And the Furnace is our professional development networking platform. Now, networking is a scary word, so go with me on this. The Furnace really is a melting pot. We wanted the opportunity to get as many creators, as many makers, as many artists in a space as we could, and provide almost like a speed dating matchmaking thing. So people would come to the Furnace, they'll pitch an idea, or they'll pitch themselves, they'll pitch their skills, they'll pitch a gap in their project. And hopefully there will be somebody in that room that can plug that gap. Lucy and I have been doing this, again, under the radar for a really long time. We're having conversations with people who've got ideas. We say, we know the director for you. We toddle off, we find the director, we put them together. And what we wanted to do was find a way of making that happen a little bit more organically, but also not putting Forest Forge as kind of the mothership and the organizer and nothing can happen without Forest Forge. We want to be part of that co-creation conversation. We want to be all in the same melting pot, and we happen to have a venue and the capacity to put on the event. So that's what we're doing. It's also quite a sneaky way for Lucy and I to identify the projects and the facilitators that we would like to work with. Because obviously, having two creatives at the helm of a company, there needs to be a creative payoff for the people and the projects that we're working on. We don't want to have that model where people come and they hire the rehearsal space and they're behind a curtain and we have nothing to do with the project. We want to make sure that everything that we've got happening in our rooms, everything that we put our name to, shares that ethos and that artistic practice and understanding, so that we can really champion the people that we're working with, and we can really champion the people that we've got in the building. We feel that that's really important. So from the Furnace, we're hoping to identify projects that we go, oh, we like what you're doing. Is this a Forest Forge project? How can we support you? Is this a shared funding bid? Can we direct the work? Can we dramaturg the work? And begin those conversations around developing projects. We've also, and this one does feel quite radical, we're giving equal weight to identifying the next generation of facilitators, not just for us and our work, because obviously if we're training facilitators, it expands our pool greatly, but also sending people out into the industry that have that ethos and artistic practice that we believe really works and we believe is a great way of making theatre. So we're hoping to identify people that we can pull in, we can support with training, they can assist on youth theatre, they can assist on projects. I'm going to talk in a moment about a couple of young people who've been on that journey. And we're giving that equal weight to projects because we think that the facilitator support is equally important. And then finally, our creative collaborators. Now, the creative collaborators is a bit of a beast. It's the name that we've given to the people that sort of sit within our associates program already. Because we, as I've said before, we don't want to be the mothership with all the answers. We don't think that's the right way to work. But we do want to make work with you. We do want to have those people that share our practice, share our vision, that could come to us in 2025, 2028, 2030, and there be no parameters, no boundaries. It's a fluid collaboration model. And the creative collaborators are just the people that we make work with regularly, like Bumblefly, like Mischievous Theatre. And it might be that a person in Young Company goes through that journey and in a couple of years becomes a creative collaborator. The artist development program has been built so that there's opportunities for everybody, and there really is that shared vision. Let me just skip forward on my slides. The way you can get involved with our artist development on the first step is coming to the furnace, and the first furnace is on Tuesday the 9th of July, 7:30 till 9 o'clock. And all you need to do is email me just to say you want to sign up. Very quickly, I'm just going to talk you through Kat, George and Bonner, who are 3 of our collaborators, I would say, that have been through a similar artist development process. Kat joined Forest Forge in the Elevate project, which Lucy will talk about in a minute. From the Elevate Work Experience project, Kat joined Youth Theatre, went on to join Young Company. We then supported her quite a lot with her career. She went off to train, moved back to the New Forest, and we gave her her first professional performance opportunity in Robin Hood last year. So Kat is a kind of a perfect example of that journey, and Kat has now become a creative collaborator because we will work with her regularly. George, very similar journey, joined in the Elevate Work Experience program, then moved on to Youth Theatre, then joined Young Company. We supported him through the next stage of his career, deciding where he was going to go next, supported him with his audition pieces. He went off to train, came back. He now makes theatre that travels the world, and he's got a one-person show at the moment called Tales for an Unruly Audience. He's touring that around festivals. He rehearsed it at Forest Forge a couple of weeks ago and has taken it out on the road. And fingers crossed, all being well, George will be joining our cast for our Christmas show this year. So that's another really nice journey of how a young person can follow the artist development model. And then finally, Bonner. Bonner is adorable because he joined Youth Theatre at age 6 in a little, it was a morph onesie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was special.
Sadly, we don't have a photo of that. Bonner went all the way through Youth Theatre. As a teenager, started showing an interest in assisting and being a facilitator, so has kind of gone through the Lucy facilitation program and now runs our Group 1 and 2 Youth Theatre. And we've also supported him in his professional development. He's also running our adults with learning disabilities groups. He's gone off and trained with Blue Apple and he's running groups for them. He's had some training with Zoe Logic. So we're really invested in building him up to be a Forest Forge facilitator, but also can go out and take our ethos out into the world. Oh, sorry, they're doing building work next door. It sounded like someone was trying to get through my wall then. So those are 3 really lovely journeys, Kat, George and Bonner, that we feel encapsulate what it is we're talking about with the artist development. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Jo. So now we move on to our third strand, participation. And this is something that has been going since pretty much the company started in various different forms. A lot of you know about our participation anyway. It's quite the beast. I'm going to talk about our regular participation for young people, first of all, and then Jo will talk about our out of the building participation. Our participation, it's all about theatre, it's about creating theatre. Obviously, it also, as well as the kind of theatre side, we know, as you know, that when you're working in theatre with young people, it enhances their well-being, it creates a safe space for them, it builds their skills, both theatre skills and people skills, and creates resilience, all of that stuff. So we know that happens, you know that happens. What I think is really fascinating is that our young people know that happens, and they reflect it back to us. They quite openly are able to say, I feel like this, I'm getting this out of this theatre experience. And I think that's incredible because they know it's happening. It's not a surprise to them. It's quite a successful model, our participation. It is something that we're going to maintain what we've already got, but we have plans for gentle growth over the next few years as well to expand our offer to more and more people. One of the best known young people experiences in our participation is our youth theatre. We start at age 7 and then go up to 18, which it's weekly sessions. It's well known in the area as a company, an organisation that runs theatre that is there's a lot of organisations that run more musical theatre kind of work. We sit in a different model from that. We're really proud of our youth theatre. It's been going 25 years. Just a few bits of information for you that we got. We did a survey quite recently with our participants and their parents. 48% of them said that it improves their mental health. 74% of them said that it improves their confidence, and 86% of our participants said that it was important for them about making new friends and being accepted as themselves. That for me is really, really important. So we have a really open door policy. We will accept anybody who wants to join us, that regardless of the experience that they've had, we will, and what access needs, we'll make sure that we can make it as accessible as possible for anybody to join. And that's really, really important to us. And so it's really wonderful to hear that that's being reflected. They understand that, and that they feel like they can be themselves in the spaces that we create. The theatre that we make is absolutely based in ensemble, about equality. We're not looking for the next theatre star or film star. We do find them. We've got most extraordinary young people have come through us and are now working in the industry, as you've seen from what Jo said. And there are countless more that we could talk about. But that's not, so when we do find those people, we will support them in going forward and help them on their journey. Whatever they need, we will make sure that they get to where they need to. But that's not what we're looking for from the beginning. We just want everybody to be equal and to create theatre and be part of a cog in the big theatre making machine. The kind of theatre that we make, quite a lot of you've seen the kind of youth theatre that we make. It can range from Shakespeare, we did Romeo and Juliet a few years ago, to 1984. We can do some really dark pieces of theatre like Pool No Water. And then this photograph here is a piece called Raising the Roof that was our penultimate show in the building last year, written by the wonderful Sean Aiet. It was his first ever touring show with the company, and we put it on with our youth theatre last year. That's young people singing Rule Britannia, I think, actually, that was that bit. And then the next show was Walls of Willoughby Chase, adapted by Russ Tunney. So that was a novel. So we have quite a broad, the stories we tell are quite broad, but the way that we do it is very solid. What we encourage in the room, what we create in the room, we encourage them to take out of the room, sort of including respect for people, resilience, creativity. One of our ex-youth theatre members said that our unofficial tagline should be Forest Forge Youth Theatre, making proper adults since 1998, which I want to put on a badge one day. We see the impact of that out in the world. One of the, we have a couple of things that we like to do. One of the things that started in COVID was when we couldn't meet, we sent out all of our participants sunflower seeds and encouraged them to grow them. And we continue that now. They all got theirs a couple of weeks ago. And the sheer joy of these, all of our participants from our 7-year-olds up to actor age, taking these sunflower seeds out, and then they'll keep me updated with them. They've given them names. One of them had a whole story and a backstory attached to it. And the creativity involved that in something that's happening outside of the building, but they know is bringing them all together, that they know every group has this sunflower growing challenge, is really important. They know they're part of a bigger family rather than just their group, which is really important. And I mean, I have hundreds of stories I could bore you to death with about the wonderful things I've seen happen outside the room. But one of my favourites is that when COVID was happening, it was in the summer and people were socially distancing, but they weren't technically allowed to meet. Now, I had nothing to do with this, but what was wonderful is I was sent a photograph by some of our young people who had missed being together so much that they drove to the old building, and it was deserted, and they drew a big foursquare out in the car park, and they socially distanced playing foursquare all together, and took a picture of themselves naughtily outside the building. And I loved the gentle anarchy of that. I love that they went, well, we just want to go and do it anyway. And I love that they went to the building to do that. So they didn't just do it in a garden or a car park. They went and stood outside the place that it happens so that they could play that game. And that was really wonderful. And so many of our young people who make friends in this room continue to be friends now. I see them on social media all meeting up, and it's really, really beautiful. So that's our youth theatre. I'll talk briefly about Elevate because it is the beast of Elevate if you know this project already. It's our 2 weeks work experience project. It's 10 years old. We take up to 20 young people from years 10 and 11 from 3 to 5 local secondary schools. We audition them. It's the only project that's in participation that we audition for. They create a company. We create a piece of theatre in the first week, and then the second week we tour it back to those local schools, usually reaching between 1,500 and 3,000 audience members in the 3 days of touring. So it's absolutely a very fast and mini touring theatre model that exists. We don't think there is any other project like that out there that does this so fast, entirely supported by a professional team. We also have assistants on it who are training as designers and technicians and directors. So it absolutely kind of hits all of the possible learning that you can do in those 2 weeks. It's always based on a issue. So we have done knife crime, we've done drugs, we've done teenage pregnancy, alcohol, body issues, gender, sex and consent. We've done all of those. This year it's about mental health and well-being. I mean, it sort of is always about mental health and well-being, but this year the focus is on that. It's quite the project, and it's a beast, and this year we're supported by the Arts Council, and we're really proud that this project continues. What's really exciting about Elevate is that the wonderful Keeley from New Forest District Council have spotted this project and really wants to develop it. So this year, for the first year, we now have a sister project at Forest Arts Centre, which is a facilitation project. So we've got young people training as facilitators with Joe Billingham, which is very handy, really lovely crossover there. And they will be working alongside us effectively to deliver workshops into community spaces. The idea being that potentially we can keep growing this and offering this model in different formats. So hopefully one day there will be a dance Elevate, there will be a music Elevate, there will be a curators Elevate. And that's really exciting that this model across the New Forest could be the cultural creative offer for work experience. So we're really, really proud of that one. I'm going to hand over to Joe, who's going to talk about the young people participation that's not in the building.
Yeah, the external stuff. So yeah, we have a really vibrant programme of external work that we do across the New Forest and beyond. The plan, particularly for schools, is to really reinvigorate our offer. And we think it goes hand in hand with the reinvigoration of the touring model. We'll have work that goes into schools, and we can have workshops attached to the work that goes into schools. Alongside that, we're in consultation with our sort of teachers network at the moment, asking them what they want and what they need and the gaps within their curriculum that our expertise can fill. Having done all the work on our artistic practice and our ethos has really helped as well, because we know what it is we're taking in. We know our approaches really clearly, and you know, long story short, it really helps us market what it is that we're selling. We're also starting to work with schools in a slightly different way. Alex, who's just left, is the head teacher of New Forest Small School. And from September, we're actually going to be delivering their curriculum of drama in their school. So that's a really exciting kind of really exciting journey for Forest Forge. And that's come from, we started an after school club. And from the after school club, the school have fully bought into, again, the ethos, the artistic practice, and have asked us to come and be a permanent fixture within the school, which is really exciting. So we're in the process of building that kind of education pack or education brochure, or the offer to go out to schools, because we have these facilitation skills. We have this really rich program of work that we can offer. Alongside that, we run workshops across the forest and beyond for vulnerable young people. We do work with New Forest young carers. We run a group called Waterside Drama over on the waterside, obviously, for young traveller communities. And we work locally with the Hot Activity and Food programme to offer workshops within those kind of summer holiday schemes that are put on. We plan in the next few years to launch a technical youth theatre, so a production arts youth theatre, because we also feel that that is a gap. We have so many young people who come through youth theatre that show an aptitude for it, that show a real investment in it. And again, we're building that kind of cultural hub of young people in the forest and cultural creators, that the more opportunities that we've got, the more retention, and obviously it just makes it a much kind of richer offer in the area, hopefully with Forest Forge at the heart of it. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Jo. And now we're nearly at the end. We're nearly there. But we have our adult offer that we also run at Forest Forge with participation. We have currently three regular adult offers that have been around for a little while. Branching Out is our offer for adults with a learning disability. It's in collaboration with Blue Apple, which we're really proud to have the two companies working together on this. That's been going a year. They created their first piece of theatre that they put on a couple of weeks ago in the building that they created, that both companies work in a really similar way about offering professional development for adults with a learning disability. So this was a piece of theatre that they wrote themselves and that was supported by the professional team in the room. It's really, really wonderful to be offering this project, and long may Branching Out continue. Act Your Age is our offer for adults over 55. You can see that some of our Act Your Age is here. This was a show, A Midsummer Night's Dream, that the wonderful Joe Billingham directed a few years ago, well, quite a few years ago now, actually. And I would say that they're all looking really jolly, but they're actually looking quite serious in this photo. But it looks jolly because it's so brightly coloured. The importance of Act Your Ages, when it was set up, it was absolutely to run it like we run the youth theatre. So there is no difference in how we run Branching Out and Act Your Age in the way that we offer experiences for those, as well as we offer our young people. We had someone on work experience the other day who's in our youth theatre, who's been with us for about 8 years, and she was across all of our participation that week, and she said the thing that stood out for her was that what I keep saying is right, that we offer the same across all of the strands of work we did. And she said she was really surprised how well that worked with all of our participants. Our Act Your Age participants, if you have a Monday morning free and you are able to come and drop into our Act Your Age session, I promise you it will fill you with joy. It's one of the most ridiculous and wild sessions that happens on the week, and it's on a Monday morning. It's a really great way to start the week, and for some of our participants it's absolutely the essential way for them to start the week. So we have one participant who really struggles, and she says that the session on a Monday morning sets her up for the rest of the week, that she's able to manage her way through the rest of the week because of what she's done on a Monday morning. Another of our participants, Colin, who's right at the front there with the waistcoat on, so that he's often really tired on a Tuesday, because after a Monday he's so fired up from his session at Act Your Age that he busies himself. He's feels like he's capable of anything, so he goes and busies himself for the rest of the afternoon and there's really tired on a Tuesday, which I'm taking as a compliment, because that means that he leaves the session with a real fire in his belly. Those are both wonderful projects that we run. And then the third one, Game, isn't a theatre related project as such, but it absolutely sits with the sense of play that Jo and I feel really passionately about. It's a weekly session for adults. It's a drop-in session for anyone over 18, and it just allows the adults in the room to come and play. We don't do theatre set games as in kind of impro or anything like that. We're not running a theatre session. We play games, so there's a lot of foursquare, there's a lot of keepy uppy, there's an enormous amount of work with ping pong balls, which I'm going to leave to your imaginations. We have a lot of balancing of sticks politics, there's been some sword fighting. Whatever happens is I usually come in with some kind of ridiculous challenge. And what I love most about it is that I quite like to subvert things. So I quite like to bring something in the room, and then within 3 minutes of playing it, I'm slightly bored and I want to change the rules and change how we play it. And the group have always gone, oh God, here we go. What's she going to make us do? It's often doesn't work, but that's what I love. It's like, it doesn't always have to work. What's been incredible in the last term is watching how the group now do that. So I'll bring something into the room, and now they're often beating me to it with, well, what if we change it for this? And so the group themselves are evolving this kind of language and confidence to just change and throw everything in the air. And I think for adults, that's a really important space, because we don't get that very often. It's a really powerful session. If anyone that is interested, you can't, it's difficult to describe, you just have to come and try it out. So please turn up at some point.
In our recent survey, one of the two things that came back from our adult participants were the alleviation of loneliness and the developing of new skills. So that's really key to what we do. And the lady that Lucy mentioned about how about setting her up for the week, her quote was, "It has given me a focal point in the week that I enjoy and benefit from." And so I think for all our adult participants, we largely forget how to play, don't we? And so our sessions are about getting people in a room playing together. With that in mind, we've just started a new project called Wordsmiths, which is our creative writing workshops. And we have a session for young people and a session for adults. It's thanks to funding from Culture in Common. And again, the ethos behind that is playing with words. We're not here to train you to be playwrights. We're not here to train you to be novelists. We're here to get you to play with words. Get out of your own way, open the little valve on your ear and let all your ideas pour out. What you do with them is then up to you. But the ethos behind Wordsmiths is just play. In the next few years, we and within the business plan, we're going to be exploring extending the offer here. So we have the offer on the water side for young people. We're going to be looking at offering Act Your Age on the water side and branching out on the water side as well, and really connecting with that part of the forest, which we're quite excited about. Thank you.
Right, it's back to me. So I hope you can agree that there's a really exciting future ahead for Forest Forge. And I know Jo and Lucy were slightly hesitant about doing these sessions, not because they didn't want to share, but just because I think they felt a bit anxious about putting themselves out there. And, you know, it's quite revealing, isn't it, to talk about your artistic practice kind of so boldly and openly. And but we just thought that I wanted them to do this because I think they are the best advocates for the company, and the impact that they have on the New Forest local community is just fantastic. And it's really important that you guys know that and can celebrate that with us. They are, of course, determined to do right by the company and by the community. And it's so wonderful that you're all here to support them to do that. They can't do it alone. So I'm with the company until December helping. And we've got a fantastic board and we've got a fantastic team. But, you know, any support that you can give is also massively appreciated. So please do tell people about what you've heard and about Forest Forge and what we do and the wonderful difference we make. If any of you have particular expertise and are interested in joining the board, that is something we're looking for at the moment, particularly around financial management, fundraising and the arts. If you have a venue and you'd like us to come along and run a workshop or a performance, then, you know, get in touch. Please come to our events. And then, because I am the money person, I do also have to say, we do have a financial target, a fundraising target of £25,000 to achieve this year. So if you would like to make a donation to help us achieve all of this wonderful stuff, then that is very, very gratefully received. Absolutely no pressure at all. The best thing you can do is share your love and talk about us. But I have to mention the money as well. So we've done that with some pretty extraordinary timing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And we've got about, I don't know, 2 minutes. And we just wanted to, as well as saying thank you to all of you, give you the opportunity to ask any questions, or if you have any comments or anything you'd like to share about what you've heard, then we are all ears.
Hi.
Who was that? I can't see who that was.
That's
Christine.
It's Christine, if I can say something. What a brilliant presentation. Wow, that's what I say.
Yeah.
It's such a transformation as well. And the enthusiasm, well, just overwhelming. I love the oxygen, heat and fuel. That's genius. And I mean, it's just a wonderful illustration of all the hard work that you've had to put into bringing this company back into the forefront of things. And all I can say is this is a brilliant basis, this presentation, for your grant application. I'm not sure how long you get for your grant application. You'd have to modify it, I think, a bit, but well done, everybody. I'm so glad I was here to share this morning.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. That is so nice to hear. Joe and Lucy do an absolutely incredible job, and I just feel very grateful to have been part of this process, actually, and I know that they're going to take it on and do wonderful things.
No question.
Miranda's got her hand up.
Yes, what I really loved about it was the work you put in to try and show us how the work you do, how professional you are, or what your thinking is behind what you do, because it can be a bit difficult to get one's head around, seeing a great production, the thought that's gone into it, and the professional thought that's gone into it. And there are certain things I just love. The technical youth theatre is really something that we do need to encourage. That's been a gap. Suitcase theatre, I mean, over the last 20 years or whatever, people have said, oh, can you Forest Forge just do something? And it doesn't work like that. Well, you've worked out how it does work like that. That's excellent. I think wordsmith is very necessary too. And this was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. My only little quibble is, can we have just a very short tagline about what Forest Forge is? I like 4 words, something absolutely that nails it, because we need something like that. But apart from that, well done. They're just wonderful.
Thanks, Miranda. Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to Miranda's points and say that I think the artistic program is terrific. It really recaptures exactly what Forest Forge was about and what it means. And I'm also continually amazed by the amount of work the company does, just the sheer breadth and range of people that are engaged with it. I don't know any other company that does as much as you guys do. With such small resources, really, to be honest with you. So yeah, I pointed out you've got a Patreon, which people can contribute to, where that isn't like giving a large sum of money suddenly as a donation. You can just give a small sum every month or whatever and help out. Well done.
Thank you, Sean. That means a lot, as Sean was our artistic director many moons ago.
Yeah, thank you. And so I'm just very aware of the time. So we are going to follow this up because we would like to capture a little bit more from you. So you will be receiving an email from me very shortly, which will have a quick survey attached, which will ask you what you thought of this event, but also if you have any thoughts that you would like to share around the plans, we'd love to hear them. And I will be including our bank details just in case anyone would like to make a small contribution to the company going forward. So expect that arriving in your inbox very, very soon. And yeah, we will be in touch anyway about all of the exciting plans and things that are happening. But thank you very much for joining us. It's a real joy to share this with you all. And we look forward to seeing you as we move forward with the next stage of Forest Forge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Can I make a very, very, very quick nod to something that Sean said about the amount of work we do? We have an incredible team of freelancers and facilitators that are out in the community offering what we do. And so, yeah, I mean, Lucy and I are very tired, but we couldn't do any of this without our amazing team and web of people around us. So thank you to all of those that are here in this conversation, but also out there in the ether.
I'll just reiterate what I said last night. If all of us can go out and tell 10 people how amazing Forest Forge is growing, coming out like a phoenix in the what's it and all that sort of thing. I'm so proud of you both and what you've done. And if we all tell 10 people, they will go and tell 10 people. And that is your best marketing way of getting the word out. So go forth, I say to everybody.
Brilliant. Consider it a challenge. Right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We look forward to being in touch again soon. Take care.